This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. I am Owen James, and this is all your latest Rangers news. Well, Dave King, ex-Rangers chairman, ex-Rangers chief, has been speaking about the fan abuse that has been aimed at James Tavernier, the team, and obviously as well John Bennett. And he has slammed the abuse and condemned it utterly. I mean, I think it's not a surprise. I mean, he's obviously still a member of the board. He owns 14% of the shares. He's got to obviously stick by his fellow board members. There has to be a collective responsibility. So I suppose it's not a surprise that he's come out and said what he has said. And we spoke to Rangers Review about the abuse that was aimed at James Tavernier and the players after Sunday's defeat against Celtic. He also spoke about the abuse that has been aimed at John Bennett and the board. This is what he has to say. He said it's incredibly disappointing to hear that a small minority of supporters are letting their anger temporarily overcome them to the point of directing personal abuse at our players. We are immensely disappointed at the performance of our team and its decline since Title 55. No kidding, Dave. There has been a huge decline. That, however, is not the fault of the present team or individual players who were approached to play for the club, who are mostly doing their best. Now, that's quite interesting. He says mostly doing their best. Obviously, Dave thinks there are some players that are perhaps not doing their best. He says we all judge player performance. That is part of being an emotional supporter. We wish some of our players to be faster. We wish less creative players to be more creative. Ultimately, it's a balancing of many factors that create a successful team. That's why player recruitment should assess multiple aspects, i.e. the player's technical ability, temperament, character, which he believes is very important at Rangers, leadership, and team compatibility. Different skills are required to ensure a balance in any successful team. Any player signed by Rangers must assume that he passed that standard and thereafter must perform in accordance with his abilities and the manager's instructions for any given game. I wonder if that is a thinly veiled swipe at Todd Cantwell. Individual players cannot be held accountable if the combined result of recruitment and the team preparation of results is poor performance. Rangers supporters are loyal supporters. Turning on our captain, who has been 100% loyal to Rangers, repeatedly saved us in key games for a decade, is the opposite of loyalty. And I hope that most supporters will join me in condemning such behaviour. Supporter anger should not be directed at our team. He said that he does feel, however, the decline has been largely self-inflicted, which does kind of go against what he's kind of saying in this statement. He does slightly contradict himself here. He said our club finds itself in a largely self-inflicted decline, but turning on our own players is not the Rangers' way. I know John Bennett is devastated by current events and is working immensely hard behind the scenes. We have a challenging period ahead and we need to pull together to get through it. So, interesting comments from former chairman Dave King. I think there are some interesting points to pull out of this. Obviously, slightly contradicts himself at times. The fact that he does recognise the significant decline in the club since 55 is a positive. That not positive that we've declined, a positive that he clearly sees that there is a problem. It would be interesting to see whether the present board of John Bennett and the Park family obviously see that decline as well and believe that they are doing something to try and address it. I think it's interesting, isn't it, that he says supporter anger should not be directed at our team. Well, who should it be directed at, Dave? The performances on the field are not good enough. The performances on the pitch are poor. The fact that we haven't beaten Celtic in 5 games and we haven't beaten Celtic in a meaningful game since that cup semi-final kind of puts things a little bit into perspective. So I think you are going to get some supporter anger at the team because when the team doesn't beat Celtic, when the team doesn't win trophies, there is, of course, supporter anger. And that's not just at Rangers, that's at every club across the world, whether that be Manchester United, who fans are very angry at Ten Hag at the moment, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, Real Madrid, FC Barcelona, Bayern Munich, whoever it is, there's always supporter anger at a team when a team underperforms or does not win trophies or loses games to 2 rivals. That's just life. In terms of, I think there are ways and means, obviously, of protesting. There are ways and means of getting your point across. I do feel that at times, obviously, fans are becoming very frustrated with certain players and very frustrated with what's going on at the club. And they are just airing their frustrations. which they have every right to do under the freedom of speech that we still have at this moment in time for now in this country. In terms of John Bennett, it's interesting, isn't it, that he comes out and said Bennett is devastated and is working hard behind the scenes. I think the issue here is we don't see a lot of that. Obviously we still don't have a CEO, we don't have a director of academy, we don't have a director of football. There are obviously a number of key positions that have not been filled, and it does seem to supporters that there are a number of things that occur and happen around this club that smack a little bit of incompetence, as both Chris Boyd and Charlie Miller, Derek Ferguson, and a number of ex-players have said. I mean, he's right in the fact that we are in a very challenging period for the club. The club is in a lot of trouble on the field. We are in a situation where we have no direction from the top because there's no CEO there. The team are struggling. The team are really struggling to play with an effective style. The team are struggling, on the pitch to be successful against our biggest rivals. So, he's right that we do need to obviously get behind the team and support the team and try and help them to overcome, these difficulties that they are presently overcoming. I think these comments will do two things. I think, number one, it gives an insight, doesn't it, that as to what, Dave King is thinking, especially as a lot of supporters have obviously, called for the return of Dave King and the ousting of John Bennett as chairman. I think that is, from this statement, is looking very unlikely. On the other hand, I think there are certain supporters and there are groups of supporters who will not be very happy with this statement, will not be happy with King's remarks, will slate him for it. Now, whether you agree or disagree, that's obviously up to you to come up with that. I'm not giving an opinion here. I'm not saying whether I agree with him. I'm not saying whether I disagree with him. Okay, he's made an opinion. He's given an opinion on what he thinks at this moment in time of what's going on at Rangers. It's interesting that he's chosen this time to come out and speak during the international break, post the defeat from Celtic. Look, it is a difficult time for the club. We are in a very difficult time. We are undergoing a rebuild, allegedly. We are in a situation where players are taking time to bed in, that players are looking, some players are struggling, some players are doing okay, and others are just perhaps, showing that they've come to the end of a kind of schedule at the club, an end of a kind of period at the club, and they need to, for the good of themselves and the club, move on. This is a difficult period to be a Rangers fan. It very much is. And I think there has to be perhaps a realization of where we are as a club at this moment in time and where we are in terms of our journey back to the top of Scottish football, that we are perhaps in a building phase at this moment in time. So to realistically believe that we will compete with a team, across the city who are very much, years down the line in terms of building that team financially and obviously on the playing field as well, is difficult, very difficult. Now, whether this is acceptable to fans, obviously it is open for debate. There's a lot of fans who won't accept that, a lot of fans who don't believe that we should be, in this position where we're having to, just be second fiddle to Celtic this season, and a lot of fans are very angry about that, and that's obviously their entitlement to be very angry about that. There are others out there that feel that we should support the team no matter what. Those that sometimes get branded as happy clappers by some. It's an interesting one at this moment in time where the club are. It's an absolutely fascinating situation that we are finding ourselves in at this moment in time, that we are struggling on the field and off the field to be A, financially competitive, and B, competitive in the actual footballing sense of the club as well. So, we are at a very difficult period, and as fans, yes, we can back the team, and we will continue to back the team as we always do every Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, whenever it is we actually play in the end. Look, guys, let me know what you think of what Dave King's had to say. Interesting comments, certainly. Well, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, on the way out, please smash that like, and remember always, we are the people.